My name's Sherry.
Evelyn.
Ashley.
Timur.
Carissa.
Lucy.
Summer.
Daniela.
Michelle.
Neil.
Anna Maria.
Felicia.
Priscilla. Erica.
May.
John Michael.
Kathleen.
Kusai. Bassam.
Immigrants are an integral part of Canada's population. According to the 2006 census, there were over 6 million immigrants in Canada, representing 19.8% of the total population. 15% of immigrants that entered Canada were youth, from 15 to 24 years of age.
Newcomer youth is very essential part of the population that we serve. And particularly, I really care about this group because I think government of Canada and other level of federal, municipal, and provincial, they put some emphasis on the adult, and somehow children also, they get a lot of good programs. But young people, they really felt behind. And that's why I really focus on youth services. And my passion towards this program is to just get young people to acculturate as quickly as possible. Youth are caught up into the two different worlds, and there is a war between these two worlds. There is a home that they go and they belong to that parents and culture and religion and language and everything they do inside of their homes, totally different when they walk out and enter to the new world every day that they go to a school or to the community and face the reality. There's lots of stress on them. We have to realize that kids are having stress. Sometimes I think that they have more stress than their parents, they're adults.
I think what's missing with the youth when they come here is not so much as what may be missing with them or their families or their personal selves or personal experiences, more just entirely related or mostly related to their relationship with Canada and the new environment.
Well, a lot of them didn't primarily choose to come here. They came with their parents. And so resolving those kind of issues, many of them came here because their parents came here. They came with their parents. And they understand that they have an opportunity to do many things in Canada. But not all of them left a place because it was bad. Some of them had very good lives, right? And they're dealing with the kind of shift in their lives to maybe something that's not as nice, to less social activities, to less money, to less opportunity at first. And so there's some resentment there with some students, and getting them to view the long-term picture, that's the main emotional issue that I deal with in my class. To not always think about right now, but to think long-term.
The federal government Department of Citizenship and Immigration Canada invested $314.9 million for settlement services, including specialized youth services, in Ontario in 2012 to 2013.
I'd say the other aspect is that feeling that someone cares, that there's a support, that they're just knowing that there's people in positions of power who are saying, you know what, we care, and here's proof that we care in the form of funding, and it's sustainable, it feels sustainable.
What I think fundamentally is what they're missing is, support. Support in terms of somebody telling them, yes, it's going to be okay. Yes, you can do this. Yes, you will do this. Yes, you will learn English. And, I keep telling them that, if they work hard, that it's going to happen for them, and they'll be back into whatever, if they have a field that they studied and that they want to go into, that that will happen. And I think fundamentally what's missing for them, apart from the language, is just knowledge of the culture, not just the Canadian, but I think the whole sort of North American culture. That's fundamental. And just support, just words of encouragement, just someone pushing them, because a lot of them, they don't have that in their families and at home, just somebody giving them a positive idea and telling them that, you know, it will get better than this.
There's a social and there's a professional gap right off the bat. Socially is that friend circuit. On my friend circuit, it's more a support. Who is supporting them other than the main family, the external. I truly believe that with young people completely, is that it can't just be a mom and a dad. It has to be a mom and a dad and a teacher and a friend and an older brother and the guy who works at a community store and the guy that works at the local recreation center. Because I know when I grew up, that's how I grew up. I grew up with about 40 different people collectively raising me. And when you come to Canada right off the bat, you don't have that. You have to now develop that.
High school is such a huge culture shock for these kids because, you know, they're coming from their own individual countries, but they're coming in here and, you know, some of the rules and regulations here are so much different from what they face back home. So it's just trying to fit in and just trying to get acclimated into a nice rhythm. The educational system is pretty difficult for them at times because they struggle with the English language, some of them, but I mean, it's just, I'm a firm believer of hard work never goes unnoticed. You put in the hard work, it'll definitely come back to help you in the long run. The opportunities are there for you, it's out for you to go get it. You gotta make it happen, you know? No one's gonna hand things to you. Some people get things handed to them, that's good for them. Some others have to work for it. So there's a lot of opportunity here. This is one of the greatest countries in the world. I think it's the best country personally. I'm very proud to be Canadian, and I was always proud when I was playing ball overseas to say I was a Canadian.
They are in a stage of growing up, shaping their characteristics, shaping their life and future. And if there is nobody to rely on, no mentor, no friends, and good people around, the leaders, especially leaders, and I believe in peer leaders. I think we should really focus on training lots of peer leaders the same age as all the other kids. They listen to each other more than adults because they have some sort of challenges with adults. They think that, you know, adults are having a power on them. They wanted to, they look like their parents. They just wanted them to do the way that they want. There's a very huge gap between their own home and society. It's a totally different and a strange sort of a culture. They have to play like an actor or actress when they go home. They have to play, let's see, Indian boy or Indian girl or person from China, for example, the young people, Chinese. They speak the same, but they have to speak the same, you know, language. They eat differently, different food. They practice different things. But as soon as they come out to the community, they have to change their hat. They wanted to assimilate. They wanted to show that they're Canadian. They have to speak well English and then practice the way that Canadian peers walk or talk. Sometimes it's funny that they get into the crack of being bullied by the other kids, and somehow that's the worst things happen to our newcomer youth, that they will be target of bullying.
Sometimes people make fun of your accent, or maybe sometimes you say something wrong, but they don't correct you as a help way, but they're just doing it because it makes them laugh.
I got bullied a lot because my accent in English and in French is different in Arabic. So when I try to talk French or English, it kind of sounds different. So people really didn't like that, and it kind of hurted because it was kind of something hard to change because it's my accent. And after that, I changed school because I didn't like getting bullied. And the second school, it was pretty nice because I got friends that also came from Egypt, and they also had an accent, but it didn't matter for them, so I had someone that was like me.
A lot of them experience, once they start entering the workforce in Canada, they go into positions where, you know, many of them might want to work under the table for cash, or they're working for some place that requires them to work for free for, you know, 2 weeks or a month. And so their entry into some of those first formal institutions in Canada is often in situations where there's a lot of mistrust and distrust and people being taken advantage of.
My life is like pretty good, but like I have to work, I got work. I need it like to help my mom with the money.
I have job experience actually, but when I came here to Canada, I was searching for a job. Till now I'm searching for a job, but I can't find it easily.
If you come here with big dreams, then you should be able to fulfill those dreams. And just know that there is always something better for you than that first survival job. And it's not easy to find a job when you go in and you sit down for an interview and the first question is, do you have Canadian experience? Obviously not. I'm a newcomer. They want to come to class, a lot of them. They're really motivated to be here and to learn. On the other hand, they also have families to feed. Some of them have children and they have to work. And they always find themselves in a dilemma every day. What do? Do I find a full-time job? Do I, go to school and not have enough money to provide for my family? So it's not easy.
As a teacher, the students who are coming in my class are bringing with them usually a lot of skills, a lot of intellectual ability. And if they're not focused on what we're doing largely is bringing in people to be unsuccessful. And any kind of immigration policy that is going to bring in young people and then not give them the tools that they need to be really productive members of society, don't see how that can continue in the long term.
In cities across Canada, there are very high concentrations of ethnically diverse newcomer youth populations. This, in turn, means that the development and delivery of services for newcomers must reflect effective strategies in meeting the needs of newcomer youth.
To categorize newcomer youth into one specific field is not really encompassing or capturing the entire picture, because they come from so many different parts of the world, right? And depending on where you come from, what social status you had and, your economic situation, they all make a difference. So, it's diverse, and that's the one thing that I've realized, that I cannot say that all newcomers need something.
The system tries to do the best that it can do, but the system always has all of the problems that come with large systems. It can't be responsive enough, it can't be local enough. And so I kind of view my role in the classroom as saying, if we have this system that's going to have all of these problems, how do we break that down and deal with each other?
They have to attach themselves to someone. They need, at least every young person, they need one mentor, at least. One good mentor makes a huge difference in the life of newcomer youth.
Integrating here was a little bit difficult because having the background that I have and being from a different country, being from a different race entirely, and then coming to start afresh. So you could be shy and intimidated because you don't have friends like that, but then when you have people to guide you, that's the starting point.
And they kind of have to, trying to get themselves. They have to kind of catch up, and it's not even as a physical, it's more of a spirit. Their spirit has to catch up. Their spirit has to want to be engaged. And once they get that, whatever attachment it is, whether it be a worker, whether it be a sport, whether it be some kind of social area, whatever it is that's trying to get them engaged, that's the great thing. Because once again, once they start going on the path, I truly believe, so much talent. I can't focus on that. So much talent with these young people. And when they get going and when they feel a bit more comfortable, it's amazing the things they produce.
And Neil, he's the best friend I ever had. He's my father to me. Because he helped me with a lot of things in here, with problems.
I love you, bro. That's nice. I appreciate that.
Best one.
A guy like Farouk, I take on as a little brother. He's exactly who I wish I was, and he's open to the guidance that I can try to give him, and I love this guy, man. Dude, it's amazing. I can't believe you said that.
Yeah.
I try to guide, try to teach the right from the wrong. If there's ever any heartbreak, no matter what the situation, I try to be there. I want to be somebody they can talk to, someone they can relate to, someone they can look up to.
I think living in Canada has really opened my mind, especially towards other people that are not the same as me, that are not Filipino. I was able to make friends and actually good friends, and I'm thankful for that, because if I wasn't friends with people that are from different parts of the country, I probably wouldn't know how to communicate or even accept other people's ideas or stories. And I think that's the most beautiful thing here in Canada.
I think well, this is what Canada's all about, a multicultural society, right? So they get to see, I think there's one thing about Canada outside of any other countries, we have so much opportunity, and it's just what you make out of it. So from a young age, you're already in a class with so many different cultures that you have no other choice but to respect and learn more about other cultures as well.
My life really better is here, because here is an awesome country, and I feel honored to be a Canadian citizen, really.
I feel like Canada is a second home for me. So I have my first home is where I was born and where I was raised, and here is where I was been safe. Living here has been absolutely amazing. It's brought me a better education, brought me a better life. So I was trying to be a detective or a police officer here in this country and try to serve this country just the way it served me growing up.
I think they need really retraining. The ESL teachers, the guidance counselors, the principals, and administrative, they need to know more about the life of newcomers youth in order to help them. They can play a vital role in the successfulness of the young people in Canada.
You know, I think when you've been fortunate enough to grow up in Canada, and you've grown up with your friends and they've kind of followed you through the education system, you're maybe not as open to somebody who doesn't speak the same language or maybe doesn't even look like you. And I think that's the biggest barrier, and it's a maturity level that not everybody's ready for in the high school or elementary school. I think it's just a lack of education. I don't think it's not a personal vendetta against a certain look of a person, but I think it's just unexperienced. It's maybe, if you get to travel, you get to understand that everybody is one and the same. But if you're only ever in your one part of Mississauga, then that's all you ever get to know.
I think there's a struggle with the values and with the conflict of what was and what is, the context of where they're coming from and where they are. I think there's a struggle with some of those Western commercial influences. There's a struggle with that, and the parents' disconnect with that Westernness plays a role, because the parents don't really know, from our experience, they don't really know how to support teenagers through that process.
When we migrate, our parents, they develop or they learn the culture a little slower than we do. So when we go home, we're still living in Pakistan, but the moment we step out of the home, we're in Canada. It's a different world, and it's if we're in West and we're living an Eastern life at home, it's a huge difference.
Well, the first thing I always tell them is that you have to get out there. You can't go back to your house and just sit and watch satellite TV all night. I know that it's difficult. I know that it's difficult because I immigrated myself, and so there is a transition to make. But the more drawn out that transition becomes, I think the more painful it is. It's like a Band-Aid. You have to rip it off. You have to be willing to go out there and really do things. The students I have who have been the most successful are the most active, and not just active academically. They're active socially, they're active physically.
It's not going to be easy at the beginning, but you got to stick with it. And I always tell my students, stick with it, stick to the plan, keep going, and don't forget what it is that brought you here.
I advise them to always be themselves, because you might not know how to speak English properly, or you might not be very good with language, and not to be intimidated, not to be timid. You have to pull through, and I think everything's going to be okay.
I am from Canada.
Pakistan.
From India.
Guyana.
Afghanistan.
The West Indies.
From Hungary.
Bangladesh.
From Chile.
Korea.
From England.
Colombia.
From Trinidad.
Uzbekistan.
Ecuador.
From Lebanon.
From the Philippines.
From Jordan.
Palestine.
We are Canada!
Within today's globalized world, newcomer youth face many complex issues within various contexts. We must present complex solutions to them within an appropriate societal context.